Get your cocktails about the game script. A huge victory. We get on these streams and we put our heads together. Get your balls, put them on the table. We are live. Here we go. We're live, baby. We're back. It's Last Call, episode number 16. That means we've gone through 3 weeks and we continue to build here. We're going to give everybody the opportunity to get in here. It's a smaller card, so we have a little bit more time to get into this thing than maybe traditional nights here. We still have a action-packed schedule. Of course, the National Football League, and it's Monday Night Football. We've got some college basketball plays that we'll go through here. We've got the NBA, and the hardwood is going to be buzzing tonight. Small slate there as well, and only 2 games in the NHL. That means we had time to really pack it in here. We had time to look at some extra spots when it came to plays in things like the National Football League and player props. We've been doing pretty well here. We had a good night this yesterday in terms of some of those player props that cashed, and 3 touchdown props I gave out this weekend on Sunday. All 3 of them hit. What's funny is there was only 1 touchdown scored on that primetime game. We nailed that one. There was only very few touchdowns in that Tampa game. I expected it to be a game that was going to go under, which it did, and touchdowns would be hard to come by, but we had to go with Mike Evans, and he came through for us. In that second half, Tampa Bay got that touchdown. And then, of course, Kittle in San Francisco. No sweater. The guy busted out like 55 yards and ran it all the way down the field. So props have been very good to us, and we had to go back to the well tonight. I'm excited to share the spots that we have here. A couple different looks for you guys, too, depending on the books that you're on. So appreciate everybody dropping in. Again, we're 50 plus already rocking. Appreciate you guys being on time for the show. I know you guys are getting out of work. You're driving home. You're doing the things you got to do on a Monday. Maybe the miserable Monday if it was a long day at work, but we're going to try to turn that around. We're going to try to find that cash, give you guys some spots to get paid on tonight. All the information you need to know before you go to the window. Shout out to everybody in the chat here. Philly Bullies, love the name, Mike. Philly Pimp, my guy. Philly Bullies. There's Perky Sanderson out here, says LFG. Alex Salazar, let's go. John Gilly, baby. What's up, Johnny G? Let's go. He says Tone Miggins, new member. I know Tone's not a new member, but it's great to see him in the green again and doing his thing. It always means a ton to see you guys out here. Sebastian Camden, howdy. Just curious if you do analysis over picks in chat. Do we do analysis over picks in chat? If you're asking me if you throw a play in the chat, if I'll go through it, then I think that's maybe what you're asking. But I've certainly got a bunch of cards out there, a bunch of plays out there. I've looked at the entire card more than 3 times here, more than 5 times here. So I'm happy to talk about a specific spot if you guys have a question. Now, some of those things being said, college basketball, there's so many games out there. It's real tough to get into them all. But anyhow, Tarek B's back here, ready to rock as well. It says, what up, Mike? Let's get it. Jewel Holder TV. Whoa, nah, Big Mike. You know it, buddy. Let's go. Kush God 312 kg. Smoke one for the pimp. Smoke one for the pimp. And do me a favor and hit that like button. YouTube, make sure you do it. I need the help, guys. We got to break into this thing and get the algorithm going. The more likes we get, the more shows we can do, the more opportunity to give you guys plays like this and some other things that we have in development as well. So lots of fun things around the corner, new show ideas, feature shows on some of the niche sports that maybe aren't something that we typically hear on different streams. So want to continue to bring you guys more, but I need your help. Please hit that like button for us. Jags87 says, yo, the fix is in, says, peace, coin. Yo, Mike in chat, let's have a Monday coin. Let's have a Monday. We deserve a Monday. We got through this day. It's 6 o'clock. It's last call. It's time to get into the cart. It's time to try to find some cash. Bo Jackson, less is more tonight. I couldn't agree more, Bo. And love it when we have the smaller cards because it gives me an opportunity to dig in, to really drill down and make sure that we squeeze every last penny out of the card in those bookies' pockets here. There's my guy, Razor Sharp Picks. Got to go out there and do a little pony racing with him this afternoon. I saw my pick 4 Razor. We missed it in the 3rd leg, but hey, what are you going to do? That's the way it goes, right? Shout out to you, Razor Sharp. Deshaun G, sup, pimp? Sup, Deshaun G. Dana Delp, hit that like button, please, of course. And there's our guy, Justin, with the stacks. POD. He likes that Michigan team total over 76.5. Sorry, I was looking down at my phone. Team total over 76.5. He's 97 and 97, running strong. I mean, that's impressive, man. 200 plays deep, or just about. We'll round up. And to be, 500 shows, hey, this guy's winning, man. He's finding a way. He's taking it serious. He's doing the job, and he's bringing the plays to us in the chat to share out of the goodness of his own heart. Justin, appreciate you dropping in. Ronnie and Bergia says Pittsburgh -9.5, Nova -12, Xavier +17.5, and Florida State -20.5. A couple of those spots on the card for me too, Ronnie. So we'll look forward to talking about those. There's our guy Joseph's LFG. Sebastian Camden. I'm looking at Jordan Poyer under 4.5 solo tackles. I don't see a lot of deep play action for the Broncos from him to get straight solos. Also, Williams over 13.5 attempts to kind of bounce off that play. Money Mike J Smooth 16. Let's do it. Guys, listen, I really do appreciate you sharing in the chat. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine the other night, and one of you guys had dropped something in on Friday night, and I was like, you know what? Dude in the chat was talking about that today, and he's like, oh, let's do it. So we ended up cashing. I wish I could recall who it was. It was a long weekend full of intoxicants, and I can barely even say it. That's how many intoxicants there were this weekend, but it was certainly a lot of fun. Had a great weekend. College football certainly could have been better, but what are you going to do? Got to roll with the punches. RVD 420 says, what's up, Mikey? Let's crush the bookies tonight. Of course, my guy. K Graham says Michigan St. John's under 155.5. Now that's a new take. I've seen a ton of people pouring in on that over today, and I was a little reluctant to get there. So appreciate you sharing that, K Graham, with us, under 155.5. And you guys know the deal here. We're just at that 100 mark. Let me fire through Friday's card. It's important to be transparent and 100% with everybody out here because, there's real money at stake here. Some of us are betting big and trying to get those opportunities. So, we'll start this card out. Look, it was a 7-7 day. That is okay. We started off after an 11-1. We went 6-6. We had a 12-1, 6-6, an 11-2 on Thursday, 7-7 on Friday, right? We're down just over a unit from Friday, but we're still up 19.89 units on the show here, 3 weeks deep. We try to turn our hips into this thing and make some things pop, but we just couldn't quite get there. So North Texas +20 was a loss for us. The Wyoming under 50.5 was a win for us. We did well in college basketball. Arizona +5.5 got there for us. Tennessee -2 got there for us. The NBA, man, the Wizards, they were winning the entire game until the end of that thing. SOBs, that Boston game, JPZ gave us that updated line for Boston. It ended up being a push, but we did cash that Houston first half -0.5. Interesting. I think they came back and lost that game. So we did get the money in the first half, which is what counted. Minnesota under 225.5. Got that cash as well. Fucking Clippers. I think we're just over the 8-minute mark. So fucking Clippers. I can't believe it. +1.5 losers. Suns -2. Matter of fact, that whole late night card can eat a bowl of shit. Suns parlay was a loss at +840. That was the big one that we really tried to take a spot at, right? There was 4 spots out there. So you think about that. We took a shot for an 8-1 parlay that just didn't get there for us. And, at the end of the day, we only ended up down a unit. So OKC was a loss. NHL, we caught that Buffalo Sabres win. The Carolina Hurricanes did us dirty. And how about them Flyers? Too stupid to know they should be losing. But hey, we take that win and it padded the bankroll for us. Then if we look over on the lean side of the house here, I believe it was a 5-3 day in the leans. We got that Vegas Golden Knights under 6.5. I think it was like 5-0 was the final score. So thank goodness that them boys couldn't get it done. I believe it was San Jose, couldn't get it done. Savoy, the rookie there, I was really excited to see that rookie perform, and he just didn't get the ice time and the minutes out there. No goal for him. Edwards Ant did get us over the 32.5 points and assists. The Jazz +5.5 got there for us in the NBA. That was pretty much sweat-free. Drew Holiday, how about that one there? We talked about 5.5 and said it was -120 or -130. Over 6.5 at +135. The guy got, 9 or 10? I mean, we could have taken that thing all the way up on the ladder. Jordan Poole didn't get there from a points perspective. Sixers blew the first half, but came back and won the full game. There goes the breaks when I take a first half spot. And then Michigan got there for us in the first half in the college hoops at -9.5. That brings us current. We're sitting at 24.83 units on the leans and 19.89 units on official show plays. So important to be transparent with you guys. And, at the end of the day, They're not all going to be winners, but it's important to show not just throwing plays out there to throw them out there, but being accountable, tracking the details, and making sure you guys know exactly where we stand on this thing here. Real Deal Prime says, yes, avoid 3 minutes of ice time. He's now sent that. Yeah. Unless you're Connor Bedard, 3 minutes of ice time is probably not going to do the job for you. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. The 76ers, the best in the East. I agree, Billy Bully. I totally agree with that. Not just as a homer pick, but statistically up and down the card against the spread. The whole package there says that's the deal. So there's our guy Perky says, Ronnie and Berzius, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to pick up from the bottom of the chat. So you guys are having some side conversation, and that's what makes this show so great. Guys talking to each other, connecting, sharing ideas, sharing opportunities. Let's share some opportunities. Speaking of, let's dig into this card. And we're going to start out tonight with the association. We're going to start out on the hardwood here. You guys will see, thanks to my guy T on the ones and twos back there, making it tight and right, getting this looking clean here to give you guys these spots that we're going to talk about right-hand side of the screen. You'll see the games that we're going to talk about in detail. I waffled on that third game too, so we'll come back and make sure to talk about that. But you guys can see the bet for me in this spot here is going to be Toronto. Let's talk about the stats and the splits. Let's get into business. Starting out the card, opening the night in the association. Pretty decent NBA weekend again. So, could be better, could be worse, but I think we're starting to get some good data and some analytics under our belt to make these decisions. So, look, 59% of the bets, 85% of the cash. They're poking on this over right now, and the over is sitting at 229 is the best number I can get now. So it's even gone up a half a point from the 2 points it went up from off the hop of the show here. So, clearly the action is coming in on this over for this Toronto Raptor spot, and I think rightfully so. We'll talk about it in a second. The total, as far as the Wizards opened up as 8.5 point dogs, they're now 8s and 9s line shop, right? Just giving you guys the best of the information that's out there. 60% of the bets and 86% of the cash are on the Wizards. Now you'll notice, our guys got some information streaming across the bottom there for you guys. You'll see some split information as well. And those numbers might be different. So it's important to keep your eyeballs on those rolling bars across the bottom where you see those numbers. When I give you these numbers, these are the latest numbers. And this is really just in the last 2 hours or 2.5 hours from when this information was put together. So a variance in the number can certainly be a strong way, one or the other, if you want to start to measure those distances. I'm just giving you guys the information now as far as the split. So the current split, 60% of the bets, 86% of the cash on the Wizards. And I'm not sure if it's the right move or not, but at the end of the day, for me, look, the Wizards are an incredible over team right now. Going back to March 28th, the over in Washington games when they're an 8-point dog or larger, so still in the parameters of this game, have hit 8-0 to the over in the spot. In fact, all season they've hit overs with the exception of their last game yesterday. That was an under. The rest of the season's been overs for this high-paced team that likes to kind of run and gun. I was concerned a little bit about that over at first because I was thinking, Toronto can play some slower pace games when they get in this matchup. But, for me, I just jumped back in and I said, you know what, give me that over. I like that trend for what's going on. Toronto's been starting to kind of heat up as well. They were solely relying on Scotty Barnes. You see that I have his over 1.5 3-pointers. It was a minus 114 prop. That guy's his points, rebounds, and assists. He's kind of like the one-man band that's up there in Toronto. But at the end of the day, I saw the Raptors 20-3 against the spread as strong favorites at home. If they were home only last game or just coming off a road trip. So kind of settling back into being home. The Raptors play incredibly well. I like that Raptor spot. I almost pulled the trigger on the Toronto side to begin with, but I'm just going to go to points here. I think Washington, they're an over team. They're going to push pace. I think Toronto's going to want to win this game, so they're going to have to stamp them over the top. Another number that I looked at for you guys, and you'll see it there in the leans. I got a couple screens open, so I'm flipping all around here. But I looked at the Kyle Kuzma under. I got a Kyle Kuzma gift this weekend. It was like his points was at 25.5. And I think it was just yesterday, as a matter of fact, it was yesterday because I text some of my buddies, and I was like, if I text you an NBA prop in the middle of football Sunday, you better play it. And it was under 25.5. I think he got 15. I don't think he's gotten 20 all season. So the under 21.5, it's a lean for me. The reason it's a lean is I think this game's going to go over. So I need him to get points. I don't want to be sitting there cursing him being under. That's just too much needle threading to go on for me and trying to say, do I think it goes under? I need the game to go over. I'd rather him explode and go off, but the stats show me this guy hasn't done it all season. Some things you have to look for. Coin says Anunoby and Trent both out for Toronto. Yeah, they never seem to want to play. Earl Sports, there's our guy. Nick says, lean Washington and over, no bet. EQ says, last call. You got it, EQ. Ronnie and Bergia. Nathan Cerna, thanks at Philly. Mike, tell those dirty books to give me my money. It's my birthday. Nathan Cerna's birthday, huh? Happy birthday, Nathan Cerna. Dirty books, give Nathan Cerna his cash, damn it. Come on now. It's time to get paid. We're going to keep it rolling here. Game number 2. We got to keep a brisk pace. We got quite a few to talk about when it comes to some details in the NFL. I want to make sure that I get those opportunities out there because your boy's going to be going out to a little Bills game tonight and watching a little party with the friends and fam. We're going to try to have a little fun with it. So that's going to be the deal tonight. But we're going to roll on. Next game we're going to talk about here. We're going to look at this Celtic spot. A couple good looks I thought on the Celtic spot. First of all, the elephant in the room. The Knicks, for some reason, own the Celtics. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's just the Celtics don't care about playing the Knicks. I'm not sure. We'll have to dig in and get to the bottom of that. But as far as the stats go here, the trends and the splits, the line opened at 8.5 plus 8.5 to the Knicks. It's moved to 9.5, which is interesting because 33% of the bets, but 61% of the cash are hitting the New York Knicks. So that's what's interesting to me is, we talk about the public and the public perception. The public kind of falls under the bets category. The cash category to me starts to become the sharper money or the syndicates, people that have enough dollars to move a line. Your $5 parlay ticket's not going to move the line. But if you go out there and drop $50K on something, that's certainly going to move the line. And you would imagine Joe Public's not the guy going up there to the window with $50K saying, oh, I really like the Celtics tonight without any data behind it. So bets, public, cash, sharps, sharper money coming in on that Knicks spot. And guess what? The books don't care. They're saying, hey, sharps, we see your big money tonight. That's kind of an interesting point for me. You don't really tend to see that often where there's such a discrepancy. Now, could that be because, the line is moved? I don't think so, because when I started looking at these numbers earlier today, 8.5s and 9s, you'll see across the bottom, it was 36% of the bets and 91% of the cash. And the Knicks are still moving up. So if anything, I think some of that money's starting to come in on that Boston side, and that's the side that I'm going to go with here. The total itself, 224.5, dropping down to 221.5s and 220s. 52% of the bets, 80% of the cash on the under. Now, that's more what I would expect to see when you talk about the correlation between the splits and the line movement. Where's the public betting? Where's the sharp betting? And how's Vegas reacting? Look, home favorites in the East. This is an East-specific stat. It's live in 2 spots tonight. Home favorites in the East, when they're playing on a total line that's more than -4.5, are 12-3 against the spread this month. They're covering by 6 points or 5.67. So almost 3 possessions in that spot. Despite the fact that the line's moved in some cases, there's still some. Let me see if there's still some 8.5s out there now. We want to be official for the show, and there's a 9 now. So the number we're going to lock in here, current number for you guys is a 9. Boston -9. Support it, endorse it, played it at 8.5. I'm going to lock it in at 9. Also, the Knicks, here's a nice one that I like. I love these kind of aggregate stats, meaning when you have to blend like both teams' factors together, does it open up a glaring picture on one side or the other? And it does in this case. The Knicks, when their combined average from the field with their opponent is 90% or greater, the Knicks are 5-11. That's a Knicks-specific trend. When you add in the fact that there's a home favorite, in this case, Boston, the Boston side, the opponent against the Knicks moves to 8-1, again, covering by 6.22 points in terms of margin. Another number for you guys here. Road dogs that are between +3 and +14 with no rest are 1-17 against the spread, losing by 6.29 points against that spread. So we've got a consistent theme with 3 different angles for you guys that all show it's a Boston spot to cover the spread by 6 points or more. And that's where I'm rolling tonight. So I jumped in on that Celtics spot. I know our guy Nasty Nate's going to like that. Yes, I see Earl says Celtics trifecta, probably Nasty Nate. Yeah, I thought about that. I looked at that first quarter in the first half. I might circle back and get there. We got a little bit of a later start for the NBA. But again, I wanted to share that look for you guys because it's interesting how the sharper money's pushing that Knicks number. Vegas doesn't seem to care. And he got 3 spots, different angles, all coming up with the same number that should be a Boston cover by 6. It'll be interesting to recap that game tomorrow and just see how accurate that line information was when it comes down to the brass tacks of it. But we'll keep it rolling. Third and last game that I've got for you guys in the NBA. I've decided that I'm going to go slow in the NBA because, we're crushing the NHL. We're doing great in college football. We've had a really solid, productive NFL season. If it wasn't for this NBA early, and I knew it early. I always like to try to be measured and start slow, but I want to cover it. I want to give you guys these looks and these angles. They will mature as the season goes on. So we'll jump into this next game. We're looking specifically at the Bucks and the Bulls. The Bulls, after that first game, little team meeting that they had, interesting the way they've kind of started to turn some things around. Maybe that was just to turn the corner and kind of slap each other in the face and say, look, we got to take this serious. I'm not sure. 26% of the bets, 64% of the cash on the Bucks. The line opened at -7, and it's now moved at -9. So again, public's all over the Bulls. I know our guy Razor Sharp loves this stuff, right? The public's all over the Bulls, but they're making the line more attractive, opening their arms to more of that public money. And the sharp bettors are saying, hell no, we see what's going on out there. We're not going to jump in on this thing. The total itself opened at 229, now 228.5 to 229.5. So line shop those numbers, 67% of the bets and 74% of the cash on the over. And, depending on where you're looking at this thing, you're seeing marginal movement at best. Now, the numbers that I was looking at, again, that home favorite in the East when the total is greater than -4, when the line is greater than -4.5, 12-3 against the spread in the month of November. Bucks certainly fall under that criteria. The Chicago Bulls, 0-7 against the spread, going all the way back to January when they're playing with no rest versus a team that has less than 2 days rest. So it's kind of that rest factor saying, look, there is certainly going to be there's going to be some tired legs, some tired feet, and arms out there when it comes to the Chicago Bulls, showing that historically. And here's one that I like for you guys: when it comes to fading the divisional dog after they've won by 9 points or more. So a substantial win, and you got a divisional dog here in that Bulls situation, right? They just came out and beat Detroit by 11 points. The divisional dog in those spots over the NBA in the last year have gone 37-64 against the trend, against the spread. Ultimately, I actually reached out to T before the show, and I was like, dude, you got to make this one a lean for me. It's not anything I want to go official with just yet. I got to kind of see how some other things play out with these numbers and even further line movement if there is any, because look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that the Bucks just don't cover spreads. It's like they get a good lead going into the game, and by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, they're like, hey, we got this one in the bag. We're good. Let's move on. And then they end up opening the back door up for the competition. So it's an official lean. Can't get there just yet. Now, the over has been something that's certainly worth considering and pointing out here. The Bucks are 20-3 to the over when they're at home off a road game, when they got a line that's bigger than -6 points. So, when they show a big spread, the Bucks kind of answer the bell and have gone over, and they've gone over by 13 points. So we got cash flow and sharp movement on the over. The number hasn't moved more than a half a point, depending on where you look, but a strong play there that would suggest the Bucks 20-3 over spot. Not for me. At the end of the day, I'm looking at that Bucks spot. I still might get there and pull the trigger, but I just haven't done it just yet. So again, we'll move on. We'll talk about the next one here. Here's our guy TransCanada says, I told the woman I'm going to go hang out with a pimp right now. She was, are you okay? Let's go, baby. We're going to keep it rolling. We're going to jump into the National Hockey League. Lace up them skates, boys and girls. It's time to talk a little puck action here. And you guys have known, if you've been following the show already, it's been a solid start for us. So you guys know I don't really focus too much on these splits when it comes to the cash flow and the dollars and cents. Just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Again, you're not going to find, the sharps taking those -300s and -400s. If anything, they'll lay puck lines, but you won't see them lay puck lines and juice. They would take a -2.5 to get it plus money, not a -1.5 at -125. So kind of puts a damp or the fly in the proverbial ointment, as they say, but we'll keep it rolling. We'll keep going here. Let's go. We got 2 NHL games tonight to talk about. A little bit of a later start for both of these games as they are out there closer to the West Coast. And the first game we're going to talk about, we're going to look at the Islanders versus the Oilers. And you'll see I locked in official play for me in the hockey game tonight, the under 6.5. Lots of things going on in this game. There's a lot of story to dissect, and I'm glad we have a little smaller card to talk about it, because it's important to know these are some directional spots moving on here in the NHL as we go forward with these two teams specifically. First of all, they were calling for the Oilers coach head, Woodcroft. They fired his ass. They put him right out there on his ass and said, you are done. This is unacceptable. And they brought in a nice young feller named Chris Knobloch. Why is that important? because Chris Knobloch has familiarity with the second best Connor in the NHL right now in Connor McDavid. He was his head coach in the Erie Otters days. So familiarity between Connor McDavid, Chris Knobloch, the new coach that's out there. And I think that's going to be impactful. You could argue that Connor McDavid played so well in his OHL days that it generated an opportunity for this guy to get a head coaching job. But there's certainly going to be that chemistry and connection. And if that's the case, then he's going to certainly let Connor McDavid have a little bit more latitude than maybe he already has. And that's important because right now Connor McDavid is on a 3-game pointless streak. So coaching changes out there. There's certainly trouble in paradise. And then if you look at the other side of the equation, guess who else is they're calling for his head? They want Lambert out of there for the Islanders. There's no room for mediocrity unless you are a New York Islanders fan, and then there's plenty of room for mediocrity. But that being said, they want Lambert out and on his ass. And also, the Islanders have been outscored 17-8 over their last 4 games. What's terrible for the Islanders here is their team's being led in goals by a defenseman. So, your claim to fame, if you will, right now is Bo Horvat, who kind of was a big question mark. Everyone was scratching their head last year saying, why did we trade for this guy at the deadline when we were trying to make a push in the playoffs? Well, he's the only forward that has double-digit points. He's got 4 goals and 6 assists, a combination of 10 points. The Islanders rank 30th in goals per game. So, if you can kind of read between the lines here, this is a perfect formula for me for this under. You got 2 shit teams in bad spots right now. I think Edmonton certainly can pick it back up, and I think they will. And it was important to kind of recognize those coaching moves because over the next week or two, I think you're going to see some directional pivots here. You're going to see Edmonton start to hopefully pick it back up with that new coach and some opportunity. He'll probably mix the lines up a little. He's going to look at Connor McDavid and say, who do you want to play with and how do you want this thing to work? And he's probably going to let Connor McDavid be a little bit more of a field general, which I think is a good thing at this point because he's certainly earned the right. On the other side of things with the Islanders, they're going to get rid of this coach here. It's just a matter of time, and that's still going to push them off another couple of weeks before they're potentially buy on as well. So I locked in the under. Oh, by the way, you guys know I love to throw one of those out there for you. Oh, by the way, when the Islanders play in Edmonton, it is not greener grass for them boys on the road. They are 1-10 in their last 11 games in Edmonton, but the number that jumped out to me is the under. It's 2-8 to the under. They're only averaging 5.5 goals in those games. In fact, the average total has been around 3 to 1.7. Not enough for me to get excited to take the Oilers minus 1.5. There's a slim margin at best in there. And if that 1.7 means Islanders somehow score 2 goals, then your minus 1.5's out the window. But that 3 to 1.7, 4.7 total, even though they're averaging 5, they've had a couple of clusters. Those 2 games that went way over. So I locked in that Oilers under 6.5. Probably spent a little too much time getting into that game for you guys, but wanted to point it out with those 2 teams particularly because we're going to put a big asterisk on those guys and say, let's keep our eyes on how they transform moving forward. Lock me in for that Edmonton under 6.5. And I didn't even talk about the goaltending here with Sorokin and Skinner, but I thought there was more sub-story to digest in that than on the surface. And I thought that under and talking about those changes was important enough. Follow that up with that Edmonton Islanders history when they're in Edmonton and lock me down for that under. Game number 2, we're going to talk about kind of a similar situation with some things going on under the covers. Interesting that these are the 2 games that are on tonight. We've got the Colorado Avalanche. We've got the Seattle Kraken. We got Georgiev at 7-4. And it looks like Joey Dockard's going to get the start at 2-1-3 on the other side of the equation. Earlier today, I had it in there as Grubauer. He was projected to be the starter, but he got his ass kicked that last game. He let up 4 goals and 13 shots, and they brought in Dackard to be the guy in relief. Now, what did he do? He did make 9 saves over 2 periods, but I don't know. That's a good litmus test. That was against Edmonton. That was the first game after the coach got fired. So I expected Edmonton to have a little spark, a little hitch in their giddy up, but at the same time, I thought 9 saves. It's not like he was really tested. It was 9 saves over 2 periods. So, as well as he played in relief, I guess the mental headspace is what you have to look at there and say, he wasn't expecting to go in. He came in and he got the job done. That being said, this is a tough game for me. I lean to this Colorado in regulation spot for a big NHL-wide trend that I'll share with you guys. But, it's tough for me to make it an official play because Colorado's lost 5 of their last 7, and they were shut out 3 times in those 7 games. So, Georgiev's let up 4 or more goals in 5 of his last 7. So the trend here is when Georgiev sucks, the Colorado Avalanche lose. And, clearly you'll see with the 3.29 goals against average, he's not playing great right now. But this could be a potential bounce back spot for him. Specifically, the Seattle Kraken, they're not a high scoring team this year. I think the kind of story is out with this team and what they're capable of doing. I do expect the Avalanche to bounce back. I lost the number. It was a big number. I think I want to say it was 450 to 190. Let's just use that as an earmark because it's pretty damn close. This is what happens when you've got an NHL team in a revenge spot on the road after a home loss. They're winning at almost 70% clip. It was like 68% was the total number. I'm sorry, it got deleted. So I don't want to give you guys the specific number, but we'll keep our eyes on it. We'll talk about it again. NHL teams in a revenge spot, meaning they lost to this team the last time they played them after a home loss. Big opportunity out there. So Colorado Avalanche plus 105 in regulation. Here's the other thing that I looked at with this game. I would be more comfortable with the minus 1.5 here than I was in that previous game because 7 of Colorado's 8 wins have been by 2 or more goals. And Seattle on the other side, 6 of their 10 losses have been by 2 or more goals. So if you look at the math, you look at the averages, that makes a lot of sense that they would be a potential puck line playing this thing. I kind of lean to that regulation spot, and that's why it's exactly what it is just a lean. The other number to consider here, if you guys are thinking about the over, I might put a red flag on that too. This number suggests a bounce back spot for Georgiev here. 2-8 to the under at the Colorado Avalanche when they're playing a West Coast team after a home ass kicking. So it kind of double dips that revenge spot after a home loss. But the pucks just aren't going in. So the goaltending steps up, 2-8 to the under. Colorado's specific trend to dovetail that opportunity for the Avalanche. I lean to the Avalanche, and you'll see that I've got a play that kind of crosses sports here that will incorporate the Avalanche on the money line. So we try to get that juice down. That's the deal with the NHL. Official play for me, Edmonton under 6.5. I lean to the Avalanche in regulation. I did look for kicks. It was like plus 580 if you took Edmonton minus 1.5 and parlayed it with Colorado minus 1.5. I just don't know that Edmonton gets there at the end of the day. So those are some things I would consider. We're going to keep it rolling here. Let's take a look at the chat and see what you boys are up to, boys and girls are up to out there. There's Nunya says Presbyterian money line, Bills money line, even money going in. Can't get mad at that. I like that number a lot. B Jizzle G says if Denver can beat KC Chiefs, they can cover the spread in Buffalo tonight. Interesting point. There were some injuries in that Kansas City side, and Patrick Mahomes was sick. So I'm going to discount that just a little bit. But, certainly we'll get into that and talk about how and why I think our guy, Russell Wilson's been playing better than he's getting credit for here. Deshaun G says Evan Bouchard over 1.5 block shots plus 125. All right. What do they call him? Evan Big Heart Bouchard out there trying to go out there and block some shots. Okay. Perky Sanderson says, if you like free money, bet Buffalo Bills. Bo Jackson, the Avs next win will get Bednar his 300th career coaching win. Interesting, Bo Jackson. How does that correlate now? Do we have if we add up, I guess I got to see the other side of that thing because I know you're up to something. With that sorcery. I like it. I love hearing that kind of stuff. So there's Nathan Cern that says Skinner. You know it, my guy. Let's go. All right, we're going to keep it rolling here. What else do we have in the chat? Earl Sports Bet says Kraken team total over 2.5, full game over. So of course he's on the other side. And there's our guy Gagnon says Denver's a team that can be the worst team this league has seen in 20 years or can crush the best team in this league has been since Patriots domination. I'll pass on the side. I'll lay it out there. Deshaun G says Darnold Nurse over block shots minus 115. And Nunya says good luck PSR gang. Listen, we got 150 plus guys. A reminder, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Take the time to break this card down for you guys. Want to continue to do it, but I need your help. We need to get this thing triple digit likes plus. You guys did a great job for me on Friday, and I appreciate it here. We're trying to give you guys more cash to get in your pockets and take from them bookies. All I need you to do is 2 things. 1, hit that like button. 2, get your pen and pencils out. Let's talk about some NFL because we got some great looks. I think there's some great looks here. Time will tell, but we're in the situation where we've got this line opened up at 7.5. We're seeing 7s and 8s out there, depending on where you shop. 56% of the bets and 79% of the cash on that Denver Broncos team with marginal movement, marginal at best. Now, the total is something that's in flux here. We know about primetime unders. They've been kicking absolute ass. But 47 is the number that opened. We're seeing 47s, even some 48s out there now. 77% of the bets and 82% of the cash on the under. It's almost like everybody's conceded and said, look, we know it's a primetime game. It's going to be an under spot. I lit this game up. I was excited about this game. I'm going to have a fun time watching this game tonight. I think it's going to be a score fest, despite the circumstances here being prime time. Now, there are some factors that go into a sub 50-degree day with 9 to 10 mile an hour winds pushing those games under on prime time. But I don't think so tonight. I think this is an opportunity where we've got some defensive woes out there on both sides of the ball. We know about what's going on, with Buffalo having some of their issues out there with, Tre'Davious White being out there. Now no Matt Milano being out there. There's definitely some factors in this Buffalo game to consider. Let's talk about the numbers. Since January of last year, 2022, Buffalo's 6-0, and this is straight up at home in night games. So if you're thinking it's a Denver live dog spot, Buffalo's going to say not so fast, albeit they're 0-4 against the spread in primetime games this season. So the Bills are 10-2 against the spread in their last 12 games against the Broncos. That's a fact. And as far as kind of supporting that total, I'm sure Nick Earl will like this one. Denver's 13-1 to the under, going all the way back to December of 2018 in primetime games. Here's the thing about the number. It's 44 is the average they've gotten in those 14 games. So they are lining them high. They're lining these games above average, probably because they are primetime spots and they're playing some competent, capable teams. But the average is 44. So this is what led me to my first play. You'll see the teaser up there on the top of the screen. Mike's bets, Buffalo -1.5 and the over 41.5. That falls right into the formula that I was looking at. I would almost think that it doesn't matter how you play this. This is what happened last night with the Jets game. Didn't matter which side you were on or how you played the total. Just tease it, and it was free money. I think we're going to see a similar contest tonight. If you tease Denver up to 13.5 or 14, do the Bills blow them out and get it done by over 2 touchdowns? Well, primetime trends will say that they don't. On the flip side of things with the total, 41 over, okay, I like it. 53, 54s, that's going to be, I think, the peak of the number that we see. I don't expect that we're going to go out here and see 75, 80 points. So, again, time will tell. Buffalo's been hearing about it. They've been hearing not just from a commotion standpoint about, hey, we need to win this game for the standings. There's a lot of dogs in that locker room. And you know what happens is they start turning on each other and the coaching staff when they start going through and losing games they should be winning. So, I've gone back to the start of the season saying I think the issue really lies with Diggs. He's been performing. He's a number 1 wide receiver. He's getting more looks, more targets, more catches, more yards than anybody else in the NFL. But it's a fact. It's a problem. Josh Allen wants to run. He doesn't want to have a leash on him. He wants to be a dog. He doesn't want to be told where to throw the ball. He wants to find the open guy and hit him down the field. There's a little bit of dictating going on here saying you got to get it to Diggs first, at least to keep his big mouth shut and keep him as part of the solution and not part of the problem. So I think that's a big factor. The other challenge that the Bills have right now is no Dawson Knox. So I told these guys this before with the Bills. They wanted to have that 2 tight end package with Dawson Knox and then Kincaid, and they were trying to mirror it after that New England Patriots run there where they had Gronk and Hernandez. And what happens when you lose a guy like Knox? Kincaid's going to be a star. There's no question in my mind about it. He was a star at Utah. He was their offense, and we've seen what happened kind of post the Kincaid era for Utah. It's not being pretty. On the flip side of things, Knox, he was a good running blocker out there as well. So he was almost operating like an extra lineman, which opened up the field for Cook. It opened up the field for their entire running game, including Josh Allen, to go out there and get 60, 70 rushing yards. What are we not seeing? We're not seeing that opportunity. Now, maybe it's because of some underlying issues with Josh Allen. But that being said, the spots that I had to look at tonight for this game in terms of some of these props that are out there, you'll see it on the big screen there. Allen, 3+ passing touchdowns. That's not rushing touchdowns. That's passing touchdowns. At the end of the day, I think it's a really strong spot for him. He's got a suspect secondary in Denver that can very much be exposed. And if you're thinking, hey, Denver coming off a bye, they've got that extra rest. It doesn't correlate in the NFL right now. There's some trends and some strong numbers I could show you guys. Just don't have the time to show you that it's not correlating with the rest advantage. Now, some coaches like, what happens with Kansas City are certainly able to come out there with the right coaching and rest advantage and make a move. It's not the case with the Denver Broncos over the long haul, the last, 2 seasons. And it's not the case with most of the NFL. So rest translates to rust more than it does to best. Keep that in mind. That being said, Josh Allen, when he's got big line games, when he's got games that are totaled over over 45, he's thrown at least 2 touchdowns in all 6 of those games. So when he's got a strong number, when they're a big favorite, he's got touchdowns and at least 2 touchdowns in 6 of those games. And he's averaging 3.2 touchdowns per game over that spread. He's also averaging 33 passes in those games. A lot of pass game. Maybe that does support the fact that Buffalo's trying to play from behind and come back and win this game. I'm not sure. Maybe that does mean Denver's in the spot where they could start early in this game. I'm not so sure that's the case for Denver. I think, again, coming off that, they're going to have a good script for the first 20 plays of the game, but I think Buffalo is going to take over the course of this game and win this thing outright. Nonetheless, Josh Allen, stats will show you big spread games. He's got more than 3 touchdowns a game on average. And if you can give me that number at plus 235, I like it. I'm sharing the pass number for you guys as well, because I think that's an important narrative when you're looking at potential player props for these guys, and saying 33 passes is the average in those games where he's throwing 3 or more touchdowns. Very important to notate that. Also, I got a couple other spots for you guys. Let me see if I can make sense of this here. I didn't write it down very well. When you've got, this is one of those combination factors that I like out there too. When you've got both teams combining between 118 and 120 plays a game and a total that's over 45.5, big trend spot for the over. The over's 34 and 14 when you have teams that combine for around 120 average total plays on a total over 45.5. Think about it. That makes sense. You got teams that are going out there. They're putting a lot of plays out there. They're playing a faster paced game. The league's expecting it to be a high scoring game. The bookmakers aren't dummies about this thing. It's going over 34 times to 14 times to the under. So there's that counter narrative for anybody that's thinking about that under for Monday Night Football and prime times. I know it's been a tremendous spot. I think there's going to be a little bit of challenge here when it comes down to it tonight. The other spot that I had here is when you've got a regular season win total that's greater than 10, the Bills' expectation is greater than 10 wins on the season as a home favorite with a line that's bigger than -4. So when they're expected to win a lot of games, they're a home favorite, and they got a meaty line on them as well. They're 59 and 35 against the spread. That's just another spot there that supports Buffalo, in my opinion. We talked about the Allen spot. Let me break down some of these smaller spots that maybe are a little bit harder for you guys to read, and we'll keep it rolling here. First and foremost, nice little spot that I came across there. I can't take the credit for it. I will just say that I looked at this thing and, a Sutton touchdown, right? Why does that make sense? Because there's no Tre'Davious White. Wide receiver ones, I already talked about this, are feasting. You take out Milano. Buffalo's ranking 30th in DVOA to wide receiver ones in the NFL. 4 wide receiver ones have gotten touchdowns against Buffalo this season. And Sutton's got touchdowns. He's got 5 touchdowns in his last 7 games. He's tied now with his career high of 6 touchdowns. He's getting the job done. He's finding the end zone. He's finding pay dirt. And if Russell Wilson's got any chance in hell in hanging in this game, he's got to make sure he hits Sutton. Sutton's one leg of the parlay. The other leg of the parlay, Allen to throw an interception. That pays out at plus 390. So shout out to BetOnline. I had to go into that account since you guys know I can't same game parlay these interceptions anymore. They took it off the table for me. Sutton touchdown, Allen interception, plus 390. Josh Allen's thrown a ton of picks, man. He's got 5 picks in a row, 5 picks in 5 games. He's thrown picks in 7 of 9 games. Denver's got 7 picks this season. That's just a good formula for me where I got excited about that one at plus 390. So we got a plus 235 for Josh Allen. We're expecting him to throw the ball a lot. We're seeing that he throws a ton of interceptions this season. Also, I like the Sutton over 3.5 receptions. Again, we just talked about it. I want to beat it into the ground. I think Sutton's a big part of this game plan. Through the air, they're going to be able to feast. He's a wide receiver one. He should go out there and at least get 3.5 receptions. That's minus 120. Another prop that I have in the small queue there is Kincaid over 52.5 receiving yards. This guy's been, since Dawson Knox went down, his target share's only gone up. He's out there for the offense at 91% of the routes being run. He's got a 25% timeshare or target share, second only to Stefon Diggs. Denver doesn't let a lot of touchdowns in for tight ends. So if you're thinking about a Kincaid touchdown, I might give you guys some pause for concern, but they do allow plenty of value. There's a lot of volume that happens with these tight ends throughout the game. So you got a guy that gets a ton of target share for Buffalo. He's the go-to look when it comes to looking off at Diggs. Also, the Broncos run a lot of cover 3. Kincaid eats in the cover 3 spot there. It opens up that slot across the middle with 26% of his routes versus coverage. Second highest on the Bills spot there. It makes a lot of sense for me with that Kincaid over 52.5. That's a minus 130 prop. Javonte Williams, I liked his over 74.5 rushing and receiving yards. Defensive woes. Javonte Williams has got 48 touches in his last 2 games before the bye. So what happened here is he had an injury, right? He was injured for the couple of games. And what happened is since he's gotten back, the guy's been a beast. His tackle rate's gone up exponentially. His avoiding the tackle in the first 4 games of the season was only 13%. Post his injury, it's gone up 23% is the number now for this guy to avoid tackles. You got to avoid tackles in the running game to generate offense. You got to avoid tackles in the running game to generate those points that we need and those yards that we need for this over rushing and receiving at 74.5. Also, if you look back at it, he's not even at the ceiling yet. He had 48% avoid tackle rate when he was playing college ball at UNC. So that was the highest single season rate amongst running backs drafted in the NFL during that time era between 2017 and 2022. That guy's a dangerous man out there, and Javonte Williams should be able to open up and feast. Again, I think there's more ceiling than floor for this guy moving forward. And then another spot that I added, it's a last-minute spot. You don't see it on the lean, but it is a spot that I like for you guys to consider too. Cortland Sutton, 100 or more receiving yards and a touchdown. That's a plus 1,200 prop out there on DK. So make sure you take a look for that one. I think that's a good spot out there. I see Marvelous Mike says, you think Gabe Davis will hit 50 receiving yards tonight? I don't know. He's going to have to catch all 3 of the balls that are thrown his way, or they're going to have to shut down Diggs so much so that Diggs becomes a giant baby on the sideline. So I would give that some consideration. I certainly like it, but Gabe Davis just isn't consistent enough. When they throw to him, he catches the ball. But I just talked to you about how, Diggs is getting about 50% of the looks. 25% of the looks are going to Kincaid. That means by the math, there's only 25% of the looks to either go to the running backs out in the flats, the other tight end that they bring out there, or any of the other wide receivers in the game. So I don't know that there's enough to go around. Now, that being said, I'm sure he'll go off and blow it up tonight and make me look like an asshole. So not the first time, won't be the last time. B. Chisel says, Allen was good 2 years ago. Yeah, he was. I'm not ready to throw the towel in on him yet, though. He's, I think he's dealing with some injury. But anyhow, the cross-sport parlay that I promised you guys here, I went with the Colorado Avalanche. I got the Avalanche money line. I parlayed it with the Buffalo Bills money line, and it was a plus 115 spot for me. Plus 115, Colorado Avalanche, Buffalo Bills. That takes the spread out of the equation for me, really on both sides of it. I just need the Bills to win this thing. I mean, that's famous last words for me. I've said that multiple times. I've been bitten in the ass, but I'm going to go run back to it. We're going to get it rolling here. Last spot for you guys. I'm going to look at it. I got a couple of college basketball games. I've got 2 officials. I've got a lean for you guys, and then I want to give you something to pay attention to for the late night slate as well. So we'll jump right into it here without further ado. You'll see the first game. I know some guys in the chat were looking at this game as well. Spot that I like to get involved with tonight. I'm just transitioning my screens here, guys. Bear with me. I'm looking at that Florida State spot for me. Florida State minus 19.5 is the number I see out there right now. The line opened at 18.5. We had 37% of the bets and 59% of the cash on Central Michigan. So the sharper money's thinking Central Michigan's going to cover that big number. But the books don't care. They're saying, I don't care. We're going to make it even more attractive. As far as the total itself, we opened at 150.5. We're at 153.5 or 154.5. 67% of the bets and 58% of the cash on the under. And the books are saying, I don't care. We're going to move it up. We see you're coming in on that number, and we're going to move this thing higher. So certainly some areas for concern. What I will say is home favorites, when they're carrying big numbers, get the job done. Right now, they're 23-18 in the first 5 games of the season when they're on a line that's greater than or equal to minus 20, and they're going on the road the next game. So big factor out there. The under was a spot that I considered because that same trend, when you got a home team, the first 5 games as a favorite with a big line are 13-25 to the under. I strongly considered that, but ultimately I backed off it. It's game 2 for Florida State. They beat the shit out of Kennesaw. Big deal. But Central Michigan, I don't know if they're just trying to get ready for the MAC and want to have a tough schedule up front, or if they think they're a contender for potential opportunity for quad games down the road. But, they're on their 3rd game of the season. They got smoked by Oklahoma. They were they were getting 21.5 points against Oklahoma. They lost by 30. Not a good spot for them. They were laying 3.5 points against UL Monroe. They lost by 10 outright. So tough spot for Central Michigan. Florida State's returning a number of seniors. They're a team that there's a lot of people looking to this season to make a push, maybe an Elite Eight team or better. And I think they're going to show it tonight with that -20. So 19.5 is the official number we can get out there now. Let me just line check it again. 19.5, there it is, -120. I'm going to stay at the -20 at -110. Even the -20 at -110. I'd rather not pay that extra juice. I don't think it's going to matter. I think we're seeing a cover margin here of about 4 points in this game. Two at bats, if you will, 2 turnovers, 2 possessions is what I was trying to say there. Second game I want to talk to you guys about is this Missouri game. And this is the one that I'm going to put the flag on and say, pay attention to how this game unfolds. It's an early game, but there's a formula or a model that affects the later slate as well. And I'll make sure to talk about which game that's going to be, unless you guys can figure it out. But I'll share the goods with you guys here. SIU Edwardsville, Missouri. The line opened at 17. It's down to 18.5. 88% of the bets and 86% of the cash on that Missouri side of things. So we're seeing a direct relationship between the cash, the bets, and the books showing concern. The total is where I'm kind of looking at this thing. And this is ultimately what made it a lean for me, because it opened at 147. It's moved to 154 in some cases. We got 76% of the bets and 86% of the cash on the over. That's certainly a cause for concern. I was looking at that under. I thought it was a good spot here. What we've got is home favorites when they've got a line of greater than -10. Line of greater than -10, off a loss. So this is very much this spot for Mizzou. 30 and 68 to the under. 30 overs, 68 unders. And they're going under by 6.61 points on a margin. If they've got a total, the average total of those games is 142. So I'm trying to put this all together for you guys and say this number seems like it's off by 12 points to me. Big flag. I mean, it's a big gap. It's a big data spot here. When you look at, who these guys have played, Missouri played Memphis. That's a 2 and under. But Memphis is kind of a slower, lower team. When they were lined at 151, they went over. When they got lined at 160, Missouri went under. On the flip side of things, SIU's first game was against Dayton. That was a 134.5. That's typically the number that we see in a lot of cases for these games, and they went under. So it made sense. I think this game's an under. It's an 8 p.m. start. I still might get there. Haven't pulled the trigger, but the game I wanted to share with you guys is keep an eye on this number. If we see that this is comfortably going under, if it gets closer to that 145 spot, the game I want you guys to look at for an under spot is going to be that Cal game. It's the same angle where you've got that home favorite greater than a -10 spread off a loss, 30 and 68 to the under. So kind of the same line movement in that Cal spot. I'm not even going to count it a lean in this thing. I'm just going to share the number with you guys. Share the data, share alike. 94% of the bets, 96% of the cash on that over. It's moved 3.5 points or 3 points from the original number. We've got 136.5 out there right now. Pay strong attention to this 8 p.m. game. That game starts at 10 p.m. Eastern. And if we see that Missouri line going under, looking to go under around 145, we want to tag that Cal spot. So just kind of an if-then situation. Just planning in the back of your heads if you're looking for some action at 10 o'clock, something to consider. And the last game I wanted to talk to you guys about on this board here tonight, college basketball. Second official play for me tonight. Villanova Wildcats. Give me them Wildcats. I got -11.5, and I got it at -102. Let me get this number back up. So 60% of the bets and 76% of the cash are on the Wildcats. The line opened at -9.5. It's now -11.5. The relationship I would expect to see. Bigger bets coming in on this under. Started at 139.5. 141.5 is the number now. So we've seen it move up 2 points, but we only have 33% of the bets, yet 74% of the cash on the under. That concerns me a little bit, but ultimately here's the deal for me on this one. I don't have any cute trends or anything like that to share with you guys. I think this is just an underpriced spot for Villanova. They're playing Penn. I think that the general public remembers what Penn's done. Penn's a feisty team out there in the Ivy. They play a lot of tough games against Princeton and Harvard and some of those teams. Brown is another one that, they play competitively in their division. This is an in-state rival, and it's historically given them fits. But I just think in this case, we're getting a super low value. What's going to happen here is, in my opinion, you got Villanova. They're a top 20 team nationally right now. But the way this line is lined up at them, it's showing that they're probably around a top 30 team. When they beat the shit out of Penn, what's going to happen is this line's going to start being 16s, 17s, and 18s as we move forward this weekend and next. So this is the best buy low spot I think you're going to see with Villanova. Do they cover the job at the end of the day? I think so. I think there's a ton of value on this side of things. This isn't the Penn that we remember a couple of years ago. Now, Penn is 3 games deep. They are 2-1 in their season this year, but Villanova's 2-0. Now, Penn, who'd they beat there? They got St. Joe's. They were a dog. They lost by 8 points. They were 6.5 points. They were getting 6.5. They didn't cover that spread. They played Bucknell. Great. You played Bucknell. They beat them up. They laid them down. They were laying 14.5. They beat them by 19. But I don't think that really makes a difference. And they had some that was like a Division III school that they tuned up on. So go get them, whatever. On the other side of things, Villanova put boots to ass. You guys love, I love that saying. You guys know it. They're laying 22. They beat up American by 27 points. We knew that American team was in turmoil. Also, they played is that Loyola? I'm sorry, I'm getting my initials mixed up here. They played Lemoyne, and they whooped up on Lemoyne. They were laying 36.5, though. They couldn't quite get it done. They won by 26 points, rather. So a little bit of a short gap there. I just think it's a good spot to take Villanova right now. That loss, not covering against Lemoyne. Big for Lemoyne moving up to D1 for the first time, but I just think it's an opportunity to buy low on them boys. So that's the numbers, guys. Here we go. 150 plus still watching. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate that. Everybody showing up and showing out here tonight. We'll go through the chat here in just a second. I'll give you guys the last recap as well. Get a couple more minutes to make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. We're about to recap. Now we're at 165 plus, guys. Man, we're kicking butt and taking names. We're starting to see copycatters out there, which means imitation is the highest form of flattery. And what's great about that is no one's going to do it better than us. First and foremost, it's Pub Sports and this great community, all you guys and gals in the chat. Also, the fact that we got guys that connect the dots. I connect them dots every day, try to bring you guys the biggest and the best. Volume game is where it's at. That's how we make the cash. Not just one or two plays a night. But we're going to try to find spots where we can take advantage and then have some big nights like you saw last week. So we're going to keep it going. And again, I appreciate you guys dropping in here and showing up. Mark Schillenberg, great show, Mike. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you dropping in. Justin, appreciate it. Appreciate you, Justin. Johnny G, thanks, man. Thank you. Big Show Picks. There he is. Big Show. JW, both defenses suck. There should be points tonight. Yeah, I think he's talking about that Bills game. I agree. Ronnie and Bergia, Gagnon out there. Ronnie, again, Earl Sports, our guy out there. He's got 2 college basketball plays for us here. He's got Norfolk State -5.5. He's got Xavier +15.5. I'm gonna have to give that Xavier game a look again. I know some other folks are on it too, and I think I like that look too, Nick. So appreciate you sharing, my guy. Nasty Nate's got the Lucky Clovers out there. It's a big Boston night for him. Wrist ain't breezy says, I'm not paying attention to Villanova this year. St. John's. Yeah, I like the St. John's story, and I like Patino, but I think Villanova, going through that coaching change and transition in the culture of the program is a buy spot tonight. Nadia Gagnon, B. Jizzle, Nathan Cerna. The gang showed up tonight. Some new names in the chat as well. Marvelous Mike's always good to see you, my guy. Brian Watson. Whack Prescott's got a 12 play here for everybody out there. Good luck, Whack. I hope you hit it. Smoke and Mirrors. My guy Smoke. Ken Peacock says Allen is trash. Yeah, we'll see. But nonetheless, man, I appreciate all you guys showing up. Kirk Gray, of course. Appreciate everybody tonight. The last rundown on the plays, Toronto over 228.5. I got Boston -9. I'm so close to pulling the trigger on Milwaukee -9. I locked in the Oilers under 6.5. I leaned to the Colorado regulation spot. I teased Buffalo -1.5 and the over 41.5. I officially played Allen to get 3 or more touchdowns at +235. Shared with you guys a ton of spots that I like in terms of some of these props here tonight. Sutton touchdown, Allen interception +390. Sutton over 3.5 receptions. Kincaid over 52.5 receiving yards. Javonte Williams over 74.5 rushing and receiving yards. And that Cortland Sutton 100+ receiving yards and a touchdown at +1200 are all leans that I really like strongly. They'll probably make my card in one way, shape, or form. The Avalanche and the Bills parlay, cross-sport parlay. And I've got Florida State -20, Villanova -11.5. And keep your eyes on that Missouri game at 154. If this game blows way over the total, then scrap this second spot. But if it goes under the way I think it's going to, we're going to look to play Cal tonight as well. And it's just an unofficial, not even a lean play for you guys. I'm not going to track it like that. I just want to share what I'm looking for as we move through this game. And that's a 10 p.m. Eastern start. So appreciate T back there on the 1s and 2s. All you guys stopping in. Pub Sports Radio. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Become a member. $4.99 a month gives us opportunity to move forward with new programming. We got a lot of exciting things that are kind of down the pike, but we need you guys to step up and show up and make sure you guys do all those good things like hit that like button. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Twitter, X, the whole gang, the whole crew's running on social all over the place, guys. Means a ton to have you here tonight. I thank you very much. Now let's get to the window. Let's get that cash. Let's get some cocktails, and make sure you guys look at the BetCast tonight, the live bet party. Those boys are hosting 7:30 start with your boy Jimmy the Bag and Cast. 30 minutes or so. Get yourself some cocktails and go get that cash. Good luck to everybody. Hope your bets cash. We be pumping.